Congresswoman, it's great to see you this weekend. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Maria, as always.
So what have you learned in the Oversight Committee about the influence peddling scandal?
Well, we've learned a lot. In fact, on Monday, several of us from the Oversight Committee were at the Department of Treasury to review over 170 suspicious activity reports on only 2 members of the Biden family. And what we discovered there is outrageous, the fact that this has not been investigated to the fullest extent of the law. It's outrageous that Republicans are continuing to be smeared as conspiracy theorists when the writing is on the wall. It's in black and white. It's in these suspicious activity reports. The number of shell companies, the amount of money that was floating around is astronomical. Prostitution rings, all of those things we saw in there, potential wire fraud, unknown sources of funds, where the money was coming from, China and Russia, and where the money was going. And to see this not investigated to the fullest extent of the law is outrageous, because for years now, Maria, as you know, the left has said that no one is above the law, except, I guess, President Biden and his family.
It's unbelievable. We know that James Comer, the chairman of your committee, came up with the bank records that indicated one of the partners of the Hunter Biden, Rob Walker, received a $3 million wire from a Chinese company. And then the very next day, he distributed more than $1 million of that to Biden family members. Do you know what the Biden family members were being paid for? Why are they being paid by China?
No, and in fact, that's largely in part why these activity reports exist, because it was very unclear, the fake and shell companies that existed, where the money was coming from, where it was going. And although we only reviewed suspicious activity reports for 2 members of the Biden family, what we discovered is that there are far more Biden family members involved than we previously realized. So every time we look under a stone, there is a dumpster fire, and more individuals from the Biden family have to be investigated. And what we read, the amount of money, the number of shell companies, the number of Biden family members, it's outrageous. It's an injustice to the American people. They ought to know if the vice president seat or president seat today is for sale to adversaries of ours around the world. It's a legitimate question.
Yeah, and we want... And we want to know if, in fact, they were greenlighting things for China that otherwise China would not have had. In other words, was that what the money was paid for? Were they, allowing China to buy land, near our military bases? Were they allowing China to acquire energy companies? I mean, all of this is up for grabs now because we don't know what the money was for.
Right. And then when you look at the logs from the White House when Biden was vice president, and you couple that with the amount of money that was being spread around the Biden family, and some Biden families potentially paying Joe Biden's bills, and you see the potential pay-to-play revolving door with Hunter Biden's, I guess, colleagues from China and Russia and other companies around the world that they did business with, supposedly, it becomes a real question about corruption at the highest levels of government. And it's a legitimate question. It's not a conspiracy theory. I'm not making anything up. I mean, I try to be very middle of the road and circumspect when I look at what's happening in our country, but this has to be investigated. And then what you mentioned before with Blinken, Secretary Blinken, spreading disinformation, purposely spreading disinformation, that has to be investigated now as well. This is crazy.
Well, this is among the scariest of all, because Anthony Blinken is our Secretary of State. He is the diplomat who is supposed to be meeting with his counterparts in China. All the while, China wants to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower. They're undermining us left and right.
Yes, that's right. It is a complete injustice that taxpayers are paying for. This is the stuff of banana republics. And if the left is going to say that no one is above the law, well, prove it. Put your money where your mouth is. Let's have all of this investigated for the American people to decide.
All right, we will leave it there. We'll certainly keep a spotlight on it, Congresswoman. We so appreciate your time this weekend.